Brothers and sisters, they tried to silence me with 12 pages. 12 pages of surrender, written by strangers, signed by no one. They called it diplomacy. I call it betrayal. They told me, read this, President Traoré. Apologize. Make peace. But I was not sent to the United Nations to bow. I came to speak for a people silenced for 400 years, and no paper, no power, no threat of isolation will ever change that. So I folded their apology, and I brought my own words. 2 months ago, I stood in this same chamber and spoke the truth, about Gaza, about France, about the invisible war strangling Africa. They said my speech went too far. A week later, a letter arrived from the UN. Not a request, a warning, clarify your position. But they didn't want clarification. They wanted confession. They wanted obedience. Then came the threats. Washington called. Paris whispered. Tel Aviv pushed. They offered aid. Then came the sanctions. Then came their final move, a draft speech for me to read. 4 pages apologizing for tone. 5 pages affirming shared values. I asked them, whose values? Ours? Ours don't include silence in the face of genocide. I was told I'd be isolated. I was told to stay home. Instead, I flew to New York, with no apology, no script, and no intention of kneeling. Before I entered that chamber, black SUVs pulled up to my palace. Men with briefcases, no names, no flags. They opened files on our gold mines, our Chinese deals, our Russian advisors. We know everything, they said. Don't make us redefine cooperation. And then they asked me, why provoke the West? I asked them, did you apologize before invading Iraq? Did France ask Mali's permission? Did Israel apologize before bombing Gaza? They fell silent. Because they didn't come to talk. They came to warn. But I had already made my decision. That night, I addressed 50,000 people in Revolution Square. I told them, when I speak in New York, I won't just speak for Burkina Faso. I'll speak for every African who was told to bow, to beg, to stay silent. And then I flew to the UN. As I walked in, they watched me. The young president they said was too bold, too African. They expected a soft speech. A concession. Instead, I gave them a reckoning. Before you ask me to apologize, I said, how many times have you apologized to Africa? Silence. Did Belgium apologize for Congo? Did France apologize for Algeria? Did Israel apologize for training militias that destabilized our region? No. But when I speak the truth, you call it hate. You call it dangerous when an African refuses to kneel. The West speaks of peace while exporting war. The West speaks of aid but delivers debt. The West speaks of democracy while funding coups. And yet, you demand we apologize? No. Not today. Not ever. Then I did something they didn't expect. I pulled out my phone and read a message from a 12-year-old girl in Ouagadougou. She said, please don't let them make you small. We are proud to be African. I looked up and said, that child has more dignity than this entire assembly. And then, I gave them the only apology they'd get. I apologize that it took this long for an African leader to speak without fear. I apologize that we once believed partnership required submission. I apologize that African children grew up thinking they needed Western permission to dream. But I will not apologize for rejecting occupation disguised as diplomacy. I will not apologize for being African and proud. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then now, finally, you understand how we've felt for centuries. 3 hours later, the African Union held an emergency meeting. Not about aid. Not about deals. About dignity. Within 48 hours, 12 African presidents signed a new declaration, no more conditional aid. No more apologies for sovereignty. No more foreign scripts. In the streets, the people rose. In Nairobi, students marched. In Lagos, mothers refused to sell goods from Israeli-backed companies. In Cape Town, artists painted me beside Mandela, with the words, "The unbroken chain." They called me dangerous. They froze our funds. They launched media attacks. But the world was no longer listening to them. They were listening to us. In Jamaica, my speech was played live on the radio. In Harlem, a mural appeared, my silhouette, a red map of Africa behind me. The words, "No apology given." And then something truly unexpected happened. The Caribbean began to rise. Haiti pulled out of World Bank programs. Jamaica followed. Then Trinidad. The refusal to apologize had crossed oceans. In Africa, something deeper shifted. Young people stopped waiting. They began building, with their hands, their tools, their ideas. In Burkina Faso, we reached food security for the first time, without a cent of foreign aid. Not with imported seeds. Not with European methods. With our own ancestral knowledge. Because we stopped apologizing for being who we are. They say I sparked a movement. That I gave people permission to stand tall. But it was never about me. It was about reminding a continent, and a people, that we are not less. We are simply less represented. Until now. To every African leader still hiding behind diplomacy, don't you dare apologize for defending your people. Don't trade truth for treaties. History remembers the bold. This was never just a speech. This was the moment Africa stopped whispering. And started roaring.